Hello, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and welcome to Lorosportspod Hot Stove with Loro and Ben, as we are in episode 3 of our program here. And I feel like that this show so far has been a success. And Ben, how's it going, my friend? Happy Thanksgiving to you and also to your family.
Thank you, appreciate it. Our families doing what we can to hang in there. We've kind of had some things happen, but try to enjoy the holiday and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and wish all but nothing but best.
Absolutely. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. So yeah, we have before we get started here, Ben and I will be on for Loro and Friends Inside the NFL at midnight Eastern time to talk about Patriots, Thanksgiving football, preview tomorrow's games, and we'll go from there. So that's what we have in store for us tonight. But let's start with baseball here. So first thing of news to talk about is, before we get into the headlines, Major League Baseball and the Players Union both agreed to move the tender deadline from December 2nd to November 30th. And I think it's because I feel like that both sides still want to get a deal done. Even though we haven't heard such progress made between the two sides of the new labor agreement, I have a feeling that something will be made at the last minute. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I have to kind of read more into it, but the fact that they delayed it, they obviously have to make sure that they don't delay it anymore. I think they're doing a lot of bargaining talks, for next week. Next week is for December 1st, is a big day. So they got to do what they can to kind of get deals in and really work things out. We have seen a lot more traction, especially in the pitching market this week, and we'll talk about that today. And so obviously we'll kind of get our reactions and our thoughts of some of these moves that have happened. But in terms of some like the bigger names at different positions and being able to kind of handle the money in different ways, I think they had to kind of move the date back and try to see what they can do.
Yeah, I think they're still going to somehow find a way to get a deal done. And I think Manfred already said that. But what was your thoughts on the Players Union sending lockout guides to the players and agents? Did you think that was an overreaction, or did you think that was kind of standard?
I think it's kind of standard. I didn't really see much of any type of big overreaction. No.
It's probably because it might be because it could be signal of a warning, or just get the players ready just in case.
Oh, I agree for sure.
Yeah. Like, I don't think they're going to be heading into a lockout. I don't see that happening. But even if it's December 1st, assuming if that passes, the owners don't necessarily have to lock out the players. They could just extend the deadline, or they could play one more year under the current agreement.
Yeah, I think that what they're going to just do is, remember last year, the year before, they had a lot in terms of trying to figure out the 60-game season. It's all about the dealing between the PA and the MLB in terms of a way to kind of find a common grounds. Obviously, the biggest thing is how many games. More than likely, it's probably going to be, a season. That
you think it's full on. You think it's going to be 162 still?
I think so. I think they'll do what they can, at least be close to it. I mean, if it's a little bit shorter than that, I'll be shorter than that. But I don't think anything less than 100 games is in the works. I think it's going to be more than 100. I just think that, they would lose a ton of money, especially with the way kind of last year happened. So they're going to have to do what they can to stay close to, if not right on schedule.
So you think that we'll still see a 162 game schedule in 2022? I think we will.
Yeah, I think they'll do what they can to have 162, but if they want to go a little bit shorter, maybe delay it. Probably not a month per se, but maybe a couple weeks in. I wouldn't be. I would say I'm not opposed to it, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I still think we're going to see 162 games in 2022. I prefer that, and I really think that baseball's a marathon, and I just would hate to see baseball go through a stoppage. And I don't think we should get, like, next Wednesday when we are on air, we're going to be talking about this a lot.
Yeah, that could be our biggest. It could be our biggest episode week about it. So I'm gonna definitely be reading more before next week about it. Because to be honest, Laura, I haven't read a whole lot of it. I would say as much as you have, but I've kind of gotten some nitbits here and there. But for next week, for sure, I'll definitely get myself more into reading a lot and kind of getting more of how uh, the owners feel and how just the players feel and seeing what they can get. You know,
I think
ready for
both.
an expected big day for the CBA on the 1st.
I think both sides want to get something done, and I know they will.
Yeah, that'd be the first work stoppage since the infinite strike that wiped out the whole 1994 World Series. So that obviously is huge. And you look at a lot of these bargaining big agreements, players like Carlos Correa and Corey Seager. So we're gonna have to really check and see what's going to come down to it.
Yeah, now let's talk about Steven Matz signing with the St. Louis Cardinals on a 4-year deal. And I'll tell you what, I think he's going to be a really good addition to the St. Louis rotation. So I think you get him, and I think you add one more left-hander in the rotation. I think they bring back John Lester, and I think they're good.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I think, have really, they added Jay Happ and they added John Lester this past trade deadline. They really love their southpaws, and Steven Matz for the Blue Jays was, I feel like, a kind of a mid-tier number 3, number 4. I know my Red Sox had some interest, but I think as a Red Sox fan myself, I think we're kind of in talks, but nothing close in terms of any type of deals at this time. I do feel like we will still make some moves at the pitching market, but a lot of dominoes have unfolded in terms of some guys that have been interested in. And, Matz was one of them. And I think the Red Sox really had a lot of interest in. But I think the Cardinals got much better with this. I think, you got a guy like Steven Matz to the rotation of Jack Flaherty and, Adam Wainwright, who I think should be back. And he pitched a great year last year, barring with his age and everything he's been going through. So you have Wainwright, you have Flaherty, now you have Matz, and you have Lester. You have a pretty decent rotation there with a couple older guys, a couple younger guys, and kind of a good way to kind of solidify a staff there in the Central.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to be really good next year, but you don't really sleep on them. I think John Lester will be back. Will Carlos Martinez be back? If he accepts the bullpen role, then yes.
Sorry, what is it?
Will Carlos Martinez be back? But if he only accepts a bullpen role, then I think a bullpen role would be good for him.
Agreed.
Because I don't.
Yeah, he could be back. I would not be shocked if he went somewhere else though either.
Well, if Martinez is back, I think the Cardinals are going to want to get Michaelis back in the rotation.
Yeah, he's an underrated player, pitcher that's been there for Miles Michaelis. Don't really know much about him, but he's had some good years.
He sure has. Now let's talk about Matt Olson. So let's play the game on where he's going to be traded to as the Oakland A's are doing a fire sale. So I think if you want Matt Olson to be traded, I think we could see a 3-team deal. We could see Matt Olson being traded to the Dodgers. We could see Matt Chapman being traded to the Phillies. And I could also plug in some starters in that deal. Like you could put Bassett and Manaea in the deal to the Dodgers with Olson. And then if you want, you could put Frankie Montas in that deal throw in Frankie Montas in that deal. And you could also throw in Zach Eflin in the deal with Philadelphia. That's an example. That's what I could really see in this Oakland A's fire sale that they want to do. So I think it's between 3 teams for Matt Olson: the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Padres. And for me, I predict Matt Olson will end up being traded to my LA Dodgers, and you move Max Muncy to third base, and I think the DH will be coming to the National League. Justin Turner will be the DH. Well, who's your prediction on where Matt Olson lands? Is it the Dodgers? Is it the Yankees or the Padres?
I actually think he's going back to the A's. After I thought at first you're going to go to the Yankees, but I think that they're going to bring him back home for an extra year and then have him test the market the following year. I think when you have a market including Freddie Freeman kind of at the top of your list, I think he really wants to kind of get paid as one of the top first basemen, and I think he should. He's a very good first baseman, a great glove, great bat. Now, if he did move on, I think it would be between the Yankees and the Padres. I think those kind of the two teams that I've really kind of heard the most out of. The Dodgers, as much as you probably could dream about it, I don't know how much the Dodgers would have in terms of the payroll if they wanted to.
Well, here's the thing, if the Dodgers would want to get Matt Olson, here's my proposal: you throw in Chris Bassett, you throw in Manaea in the deal to the Dodgers. I would throw in David Price because he has a hefty contract. I think that would work. I think you would put Trevor Bauer in that deal, and then you also throw in Gavin Lux, Matt Beatty, Mitch White, and a couple of minor leaguers in that deal to Oakland. Yeah, I really think I think that trade would work.
It would be big blockbuster, kind of like that Trey Turner one. I mean, if you're really kind of shooting for that. But I read a report saying this from John Heyman a couple days ago that he reported the A's are shooting for the Moon and Olsen trade talks. As Heyman has said, they're well within their rights to do it. So meaning doing it mean in terms of they are potentially able to move on from him. But you look at Anthony Rizzo's market, you look at Freddie Freeman's market. Olsen's going to definitely have a big hefty premium price on what his is. So could it be moved? Yes. I think it's more than the 50-50 per se. I think in terms of any type of movement for him, I think that you kind of are going to look at the Freddie Freeman and the Anthony Rizzo and the way that kind of their market's going. Even though I feel like Freddie Freeman's going to stay and remain a Brave because that's where his loyalty is, I think that Rizzo could be more. I mean, I could see Rizzo moving on, to be honest.
I think Rizzo. Really see what I was going to say is I think Rizzo will remain a Yankee, or if he joins your Boston Red Sox, you could always move Bobby Dahlbeck to left field.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to really put Bobby out there. I mean, I wouldn't have Bobby as a premium bat in the lineup unless he's at his main position. If because I think that they have more guys defensively. I think Core is going to do what they can to keep the guys that he likes defensively out there. Because there's a game I was at, and I know it very well, on the Alex Verdugo bad center field game. And Cora, I think after that game, never really put Verdugo in center unless it was like the game was so out of hand that they had to do it. And at this time, the Red Sox are up 7-1. The game I was at, and they had Verdugo in center. And I love Verdugo. He's a favorite of mine, a fan favorite, but he had a rough one out there that game, to say the least. Not putting it all on for him for the whole year, but the game I was at, he had a rough time. So I think your best outfield mix defensively is Kike in center, Renfroe in right, and Verdugo in left. And I think that's what they're kind of probably going to have in terms of an outfield for next year. I think Schwarber really improved his glove during the playoffs, and I think Bloom really said that at the end of presser meeting at the end of the year. So I think that, and with Tristan Casas coming up in his wins, I mean, he definitely has a bright future at first base. Bobby Dahlbeck will probably play first base until Casas is up, and then I would not be surprised if you package Dahlbeck in a deal, to a younger type of team. Remember Michael Chavis, Loro? Michael Chavis had a lot of promise with this team, but, you obviously want to kind of put him where you can play every day too. And Chavis really wasn't – I'm not saying he wasn't an everyday player because you could put him as an everyday player, but there was better options to think out there for him that they decided to explore. Now, Chavis is playing a lot in Pittsburgh. I think it could be a similar situation with Bobby Dahlbeck.
It could be, like, if you get Anthony Rizzo, but I think that he'll remain a Yankee. So I think Matt Olson, I'm predicting that if the Dodgers were to get Matt Olson, I think you could see a 3-team trade. Like Olson, Manaea, and Bassett to the Dodgers for Trevor Bauer and David Price. And then you throw in Gavin Lux and Matt Beatty. And for the Phillies, you throw in Matt Chapman to the Phillies. And then you throw in Frankie Montas. And then the Phillies get in return Alec Baum, Zach Eflin. And then you can also throw in a mid-tier prospect in return.
Mm-hmm.
in a 3-team. I'm kind of thinking about the way when my Dodgers got Mookie Betts. We did a 3-team deal with the Twins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. I'm still a little salty we didn't get Gratterall, even though we had him, but we kind of moved on from him because they didn't like their physicals and kind of his health, I guess, per se. So we really only got in that deal a lot of just cash considerations. So
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about that deal. So what would you think if Alec Baum was traded from the Phillies to the A's for Matt Chapman?
I mean, Baum's a really underrated. I mean, he's a good hitter. I haven't really watched a lot of his games per se, but he's a streaky hitter, but he has a lot of promise. I think that would it be a straight up? No, they couldn't be able to do a straight up type of thing. But I think that he would definitely be in a good package for a guy like Olsen.
I mean, you mean Matt Chapman? Because Billy Bean's gonna want to trade everybody.
Yeah,
I'm
sure,
talking
Chapman.
about Matt Olt. I'm thinking that we could see a 3-team deal when it comes to this A's fire sale. I think that fire sale for the A's is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think that they really got to invest a lot of money in their new place, and the only way that they could really do it, I really think Bassett, Montes, Andrew Chafin, a bullpen pitcher, a southpaw lefty. If you need help in the bullpen, he could be on the move. And then Olsen and Chapman, I think, are very big time names that you might have to see them move too.
Yeah, do you agree about if Matt Olson's a Dodger? Do you agree about potentially putting Sean Manaea and Chris Bassett in that deal to the Dodgers?
I wouldn't be opposed. I think they're gonna have their own separate deals, though. I think it would be kind of cool if they all were in the same one, but I think that actually a place that really I thought Steven Matz would go is the Angels because Noah Syndergaard went to the Angels, and then Tyler Wade from the Yankees went to the Angels. A lot of the New Yorkers went to the Angels, and actually, the Mets were interested in a Steven Matz reunion. I would have thought maybe he would have went to the Angels because just all these guys from either the Mets, the Yankees have been going to the Angels. I think Bassett or Montes or Manaea would be great fits with the Angels because I think that would definitely just help them boost more rotation. Now you're looking at with Syndergaard, you know, and I think Julio Teheran, but he's not the same guy he used to be. He used to be a very good pitcher with the Braves a long time ago. But of course, injuries, set him back. But I think you add a guy from the A's pitching staff to the Angels. They know the division well. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Manaea would be good for the Dodgers if you find a way to get out of David Price's contract. And then Bassett, if we can't keep Scherzer, then I think Bassett would be decent.
Mm-hmm.
Because Chris Bassett throws very hard. Chris Bassett throws hard. And if he was a Dodger, I really think that he would be a really good addition to the Dodgers.
Totally agree, man.
So, also there are reports that Corey Seager could be staying with the Dodgers, according to Andrew Friedman. He said that they're going to be aggressive to try to bring him back. The Dodgers reportedly want Corey Seager to be their shortstop, or if not, then you move Trey Turner to shortstop. So, do you think Corey Seager will be back with the Dodgers in 2022? I could really see that. I don't mind Trey Turner at second base. Trey Turner is really good defensively wherever you put him. Although Trey Turner prefers to play shortstop, though.
I think Corey Seager will be gone. I think the Dodgers have a great young team at some positions where you can kind of switch things around. I think Corey Seager will get a bigger offer. I would not be surprised if Texas took it, or the Yankees.
Yeah, the Rangers would be good. I mean, if he's a Ranger, he has familiarity with Chris
Gavin
Woodward.
Lux play second?
Yes, Gavin Lux plays second and short. So
what you could do is you could put Turner to short. If Seager leaves, you could put Turner to short and then Lux to second. I think that could definitely be in the cards if Seager leaves, and I think that could happen.
It could, but Andrew Friedman really wants Corey Seager back.
I mean, heck, he's a very aggressive GM. So, I mean, if he really, really wants him, I think that you'll put him as your main priority. And that means if Seager left, if he stayed, I think Correa will either go to the Yankees or Detroit.
I think Carlos Correa is going to go to Detroit.
Yeah, I haven't really seen much in terms of him going back to the Astros. Really, I think that
Yeah,
he's all but gone. I think
they
he's
should
really all but gone there.
they should start Aledmus Diaz at
Mm.
shortstop because the Astros have a couple of guys in their farm system that could really take over for Correa at short in the near future. Because the guys that I don't know, I forgot their names. They might not be ready yet.
Yeah.
Aledmus
Speaking
Diaz
of
is a
the,
good. I meant to say Aledmus Diaz is a good stopgap guy.
he is he. I think he was a young player on the Cardinals. Speaking of the Astros, Loro, another move that happened a couple days ago. A guy that I really wanted, for the Red Sox in the back end, Kendall Graveman, bullpen pitcher, pitched really well against us in the LCS. He's now a Chicago White Sox, and now I talk about a three-headed monster with Craig Kimbrell, um, Liam Hendricks, and Kendall Graveman. What are your thoughts about that move? And with Kendall Graveman going there, does that mean that maybe Craig Kimbrell could be on the move potentially? Because there might be some. I know he accepted a qualifying offer. I do think he'll stick around, but what are the chances maybe that he might be going somewhere else?
There's a good chance that I think Craig Kimbrell is going to be traded, and I think it's going to be. I think my clear favorite for Craig Kimbrell is the Phillies. I think he's going to be traded there because Dave Dombrowski traded for him when he was still a member of the Padres, and I think Dave Dombrowski's going to want to get Kimbrell again.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see that. They've always lacked a back end dominant pitcher. They did have Ian Kennedy. I think Ian Kennedy is a decent solidified closer, but I mean, Kimbrell's not the same guy he used to be, but he's just a closer. I mean, it was interesting though this year that for the White Sox they put him in the eighth inning role, and his ERA just drastically went up. I mean, and the ninth inning he was so much better. So he's just one of those guys that you put him in one place and one role, that's where he excels. Because I think if you start moving him around different places, he can get very erratic. I know that from myself as a Red Sox fan myself, he can definitely be. Maybe not Matt Barnes erratic because Matt Barnes, when he loses it, man, oh man, it's just so hard to watch. But Kimbrell, of course, he could get very erratic too and flies open. But when he's like Barnes away with his motion, if he can close it and he could basically go over the top with a lot of his pitching, with a lot of his pitches, then he could be a very good elite. I'm not saying a good pitcher for Craig Kimbrell. I think he could be an elite closer still in this league.
He still can. I predict
Yeah.
he's going to be traded to the Phillies, and I don't think the Phillies would have to give up much on him.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think he's going to be that expensive. I think you give him up, and I think that you could trade him for Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Could happen.
Because I really think the Phillies need a guy like Kimbrell, and I think Craig Kimbrell would be a Philly because you already have Liam Hendricks as the closer for the White Sox, and you have Graveman as your potential eighth inning man. So I think it makes sense to move on from Craig Kimbrell.
Definitely.
That's what I think. I think Craig Kimbrell
pitched a lot. Graveman pitched a lot in Seattle and in Houston. A lot in the seventh and eighth inning.
So that's what I think. But also, there's an international free agent that the Dodgers and the Red Sox could be keeping their eyes on. Seiya Suzuki, who's from Japan. He's a right-handed hitter who could play center field, could play the infield, a good utility man. Who do you think gets him? Do you think it'll be the Dodgers if they don't keep Chris Taylor, or do you think Boston would use him?
I don't think we'll get him. I actually think I've heard a lot in terms of us getting Chris Taylor, because I think Chris Taylor could play multiple positions. I think it could be like a Kike Hernandez thing type of over again. You could mix them around. Cora and Bloom really like guys that could play all over. Remember Brock Cole a couple of years ago in our 2018 run? He could play all over. So Cora really likes those guys, and I think Suzuki would be interesting, but I don't think he's going to be coming to Boston.
I don't think so either. I think, you know where I predict Chris Taylor going to? I still have him going to the Washington Nationals.
Oh, I'm thinking I think Chris Taylor's in my top three of him coming to Boston. I'm talking about Suzuki. I don't think Suzuki has a chance to come to Boston.
I was predicting that Chris Taylor would go to Washington, they need a second baseman, and he could start at second base there. He's from that area.
Good.
And then I also predict a former Dodger to join him there, and that's Jock Peterson.
Yeah, I like Jock Peterson a lot. I've always thought the Red Sox maybe could use him like off the bench or whatever, good bat. But he just seems like a guy that just excels wherever.
So would you think if Jock Peterson was a National, you think he'd start in left field every day and he would be a guy that would be a 4-hitter, your number 4 hitter? And I think that Jock Peterson to Washington would be really, really good. And I think the fans in DC would be open to loving him. And I think everybody loves Juan Soto. You obviously know that. I think Juan Soto is pretty much the new face of the Washington Nationals.
Yeah. We also have to get into our MVP awards and also the big extensions that happened. We had a big one with Wander Franco the other day.
Wanda.
Yep. A guy that's going to be in my division for extensive now amount of years.
Well, you're gonna be suffering with Wander Franco. Let's get to that. So Wander Franco signed a 12-year extension with the Tampa Bay Rays after a stellar rookie season. This kid, to me, is gonna get better and better and better as the years go on. And I really think the Rays have a really bright future with Wander Franco.
Yeah. I saw that firsthand, Wander Franco at the plate. And I'm telling you, no matter if you put him in the lefty or righty, he could just hit. He could hit for all fields. He could get it for power. I just feel like every single time I was doing my scorebook at Fenway, watching them play the Rays, I just started putting 1B in my scorecard because I just thought that every single time he just slapped the ball to the opposite field. It was annoying, but it also was just like, wow. Like, he just has a great glove. And it was also cool seeing him. There's some stoppages in between innings. Him talking with guys like Rafael Devers, some young guys. And I just, even though he's a Ray, even though the Rays are my division, like, I hate the Rays. Like, that's just a guy that I think will grow up on me. He just seems like a great player. Not only a great player, but a great person. Just very electrifying. So the Rays, even though they don't spend big, this was a guy, if even a team like them that doesn't spend a lot, has to keep long term. And I do think there is a trade clause. I'm not sure what year, so who knows, maybe mid-part, because it's a 12-year deal. I mean, who knows if we'll stay for that long. But with the foundation that the Rays have right now and kind of the way that things are going, he definitely should stick around for many years to come and definitely be one of the big building blocks, because he could be a future player. He could be arguably their best player. He's that good. So deservedly so. Good for him. I think it's a steal contract for the Rays per se. 11 million AAV. They paid him, I think, 44 mil for 11 or 12 years. So I mean, that's a great deal for them. And as I told you, Loro, he's going to definitely terrorize my team. But at least he'll terrorize the Yankees doing the same way. So, I mean, we haven't that, to be fair, but he's going to be a pest for many years to come, but he's a great player. So, good for him.
Yeah, he is a good player, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he could do. I mean, Wander Franco, you definitely are starting shortstop, and I think the Rays they definitely have a bright future with him. But also, let's talk about a little bit of our reaction to our AL and NL MVPs. You got Shohei Ohtani for the AL side, and for the NL, you got the NL's Bryce Harper. What are your takeaways from that?
Yes, those were the two for when we kind of did our predictions like 2 weeks ago. I think it was our first show. I think those are the two guys I had, was Ohtani and Harper. And then I changed it last week. I still had Ohtani, but I changed it to Juan Soto because I want to change it up. But yeah, I mean, Ohtani for sure. That should be a deservedly unanimous. A guy that can, like I said, just hit for power, light tower power. A guy that can pitch, just dominating innings, and green ERA on top of it, and also steal bases. This is a guy that the MLB probably will never ever see again. Not only he plays different positions, but he just does it at such a high level. So I mean, he's just going to be, I'm not saying he's going to be at Babe Ruth type level, but he's definitely just going to be a unique he's a unique baseball player, to say the least. He just does everything really, really well, and he's still really young too. I mean, this is a guy you really just never see ever anymore. And I think for a sport that is considered, I guess you could say, dying to the non-baseball type, there's just people that have been growing into watch more baseball because they'll be like, "Oh, who is this guy? Who's this guy that just hits tanks every single time? This guy looks awesome and cool to watch and meet." And Shohei Ohtani's definitely brought that vibe of not only him, but just in general, just guys that are just so freaking good, and he's so good himself.
And then for the NL side, you got Bryce Harper, and he led the Phillies. He had a really good run with the Phillies in the second half of the season. And speaking of the Phillies, you know, if you want, since you want Kyle Schwarber back, I predict that Kyle Schwarber will be a Philly.
Yeah, I want him back. I do want him back, Kyle Schwarber. I think Schwarber's market will definitely increase. Probably next week. I think you'll definitely hear more about it.
I think you may be right about that because the reason why I want Kyle Schwarber with the Phillies is because he can hit. He would be good for that ballpark, honestly, and he would be a good complement with Harper in the lineup.
Yeah, Philly's a pretty good hitting ballpark, so Schwarber would definitely do great there.
Oh, he would. But if you play video games and how you pitch around to Kyle Schwarber, you got to pitch to him inside.
Even inside, he's been able to. I mean, there was times in the LCS, and I'm like, man. I mean, not only he hit it out, but like you knew it just off the bat. I mean, there were some times I was just off my couch when he would just hit one, and I'm like, holy smokes! Like it would go so far. Like I wish he was able to be playing a lot more at Yankee Stadium because you know how much the short porch carries a lot of balls. He would have a lot, some of them in the third deck possibly, with the way that just his bat angle and his bat speed. I mean, he definitely is a lot of fun to watch. And I think a lot of people obviously kind of turn their minds as Red Sox fans are like, oh, I really wanted Rizzo, but I think Schwarber was the best bat out there. And people, of course, fell in love with him this offseason. I think many people want him back, you know.
We'll see. I mean, I think Schwarber would be better off with. I think he would be. I predict that he'll be a Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want him to play with Bryce Harper. I want him to play with. And I think Matt. I also predict Matt Chapman could be going there this year.
Good.
So anyways, now let's go to our before we talk about our all MLB team, what was your thoughts on Buster Posey and Trey Mancini winning the 2021 AL and NL Comeback Players of the Year award?
Yeah, very much deservedly so. Of course, Buster missed a lot of last year. And Mancini, obviously, with this cancer treatments, you know, he didn't even know himself. Of course, if you never watched the video story about his recovery and stuff, it's truly inspiring to not only baseball fans but just people in general, because he obviously, you know, the fact that as a baseball player himself, he was just focused on just not only baseball at one point, just in terms of him just trying to keep his life together. And you know, he came back obviously, and you know, of course, his wife was a big inspiration. Why, you know, she was a big role model, big rock for him, and deservedly so. I mean, he obviously went through a lot, and so, but the way that he came back and played, I got actually the chance to see Trey Mancini live at Fenway Park because they were playing the Orioles, and he got a pretty good ovation. You know, I've always really grown up on Mancini even before his situation happened. Just a great hitter. Seems like a great person. Just seems like a guy that's just dedicated to one team, no matter how good or bad they are. So yeah, I mean, he had great numbers this year and very well deserved. I mean, Posey, of course, you know, with him retiring, of course, kind of went off on a great note on his career. So you kind of look at it two different type of angles from each player, kind of going through two different types of things, but finishing off where they wanted to be. So great for both of them, and definitely wish the best of luck for them.
All right. So, anyways, now with that being said here, let's go on to talk about our all MLB team reactions. So, anyways, now let's talk about our first let's read you our MLB first team. We have Salvi Perez, Vladdy Jr., Marcus Semien, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Austin Riley. And then Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto. And Shohei Ohtani, all first team DH. Walker Buehler, Robbie Ray, Garrett Cole, Max Scherzer, and Corbin Burns, all first team, with Josh Hader and Liam Hendricks as the two relievers that made the all MLB first team, and all MLB second team, Buster Posey, Yordan Alvarez, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Trey Turner, Rafael Devers, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Tucker, Teoscar Hernandez. For the starting pitching group, Zach Wheeler, Max Fried, Kevin Gausman, Julio Urias, and Shohei Ohtani, and relievers Jose Rafael Iglesias and Kenley Jansen. What's your favorite one out of them?
Favorite player from each team, or just
from the all MLB team? Which one did you like out of them? What stood out to you?
Shohei Ohtani being on second team. I thought Shohei Ohtani should have been first. I'm really happy Devers made it. Did Xander Bogaerts make either of them?
No, he should have.
Xander Bogaerts should have been on. I mean, obviously, by his side, he's arguably a top 3 shortstop in baseball. Top 5, per se. If not, you take away, Correa, Story, I think, might be better. Did Seager make it?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, there was a lot to this. I assume Guerrero Jr. made it. He definitely should have been on there on either one.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
there's a lot to them, but whoever made them, of course, I think the MLB, the ballot voting or whatever, made it really. Whether it was an easy choice or a tough one, but deservedly so. Whoever made it really made it, and good for them.
Absolutely. So, anyways, when we talk about the CBA, here is the list of things that the players want resolved before December 1st. Investing competition, ensuring the most talented players on the field, reducing artificial restraints on competition, getting players their value earlier in their career, and one of them is service time. So, do you think that we'll see things resolved before December 1st?
Yeah, like I've said before to you, Laura, I think mostly they will they will get resolved. And whether it's through just a bunch of negotiation and talks, which I think is the best way to go, I think they're going to make something happen. This league went through a lot last year. I don't think that they want a repeat of a lot of consequences and difficulties. They know what's aware. They know what's at stake here. And I think it'll be a big, massive failure if, they can't get to any type of settlement here. As a baseball fan myself, it definitely would really, next week, really get my mood in a tough spot if they can't get anything going. But it would also not surprise me, too, because they had a hard time figuring out negotiations with the MLB and the MLB Players Association to figure out a season for last year. So
I know. For 2020, Rob Manfred even said something about it. He said, "I don't put much weight on it," and he said the 2020 focus is too excessive.
Yeah, it's extremely at times very frustrating. But if they can get something to work out, they obviously gotta move on with it and make sure that they do the best they can with the plan.
Yeah, Rob Manfred said last week, he said that the owners and the players union remain committed to getting an agreement prior to December 1. We got to talk about this. So what was your reaction to Rob Manfred's comments on last week about getting a new labor deal done by December 1st? I sent you that video, and from what I took out of it, he seems very confident.
I hope so. I mean, I've never been a Manfred guy, but if there's anything for me myself to get my trust back to him, this is the time. This really is the time to get my trust and everything back to Manfred for this. So
Rob Manfred, everybody should know that Rob Manfred has been in labor relations before, and he's been in charge of labor relations since 1997. And I think he is going to excel in this. And he said that he thinks that we're going to find a way to get through this labor agreement.
well, that'll be definitely promising. So I'd love to definitely keep tabs, keep updated on that, to say the least, for sure.
Do you think? But I think that we're going to see a new labor agreement in baseball by December 1st, because I believe in what Radford said, and I totally am a believer in that process. Even though we haven't heard any new progress on it yet, I have a feeling that something will get done at the last minute, like last time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what was your takeaways on Alex Cora signing a multi-year extension with the Boston Red Sox? And do you think he's the right person to lead Boston?
I do. I do think he's the right person. Players love him. The culture he brings is great, and I think that's a good thing for him is for him to stay with the team and definitely build up on it. I don't think he's really been the concern at all, and I'm really happy that we could definitely build a baseball program around him for many years to come.
I think that is definitely the right move in that sense, just because I think that Alex Cora is definitely the right person to lead Boston.
I do. I do think that's the right spot for him.
Yeah. I think if you look at it, I really think that Alex Cora is a guy that knows how to work with players and lead a team.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, so when it comes to the Red Sox, you told me that you don't want Cole Hamels. You think is Cole Hamels to Boston still a possibility to kind of help with your rotation?
Yeah, but I don't want him as my first choice. Like I said, I want somebody. I mean, I wanted a Steven Matz like type, even a guy like Rich Hill, who's definitely been. I mean, I would take my chances with him. You might think he's kind of in that Cole Hamels category, but I will wait on the Cole Hamels because he wouldn't cost a whole lot. You probably could add a Stroman type or Gossman type, and also add Hamels. If you add just Hamels to rotation, nothing to take away from him at this moment in time. But I wouldn't be too thrilled in terms of the way things would go because we have money to spend. I think that just adding Cole Hamels wouldn't put a rotation over the top.
Yeah, you could add him or a bullpen piece,
Yeah.
What about Nick Castellanos? I don't know if we addressed him. Do you think that it's a foregone conclusion that he'll be a member of the Miami Marlins?
I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but I think there's a lot of strong interest there. I've also heard a lot of strong interest with Marte maybe coming back to them too, but he also could be on the move too. I think a team like the Giants could be interested in Marte.
I predicted Starling Marte to the Giants.
Yeah, he would be a good fit there. He also think would be a good fit for the Mets. Mets have always had some hard times trying to find a solidified outfield. Especially I think Conforto could be on the move. You got it good on base.
Or you have Brandon Nemo. You could still start Brandon Nemo out in center field.
Yeah. And I think you could move Marte all over in the outfield too. I think the good thing about Marte is you could play, I think, multiple positions in the outfield. So that could be big for them.
What about do you think for Marcus Semien, I think it's between the Mariners and the Giants. And I think he ends up with the Giants.
Definitely. Yeah.
What about you? Do you think he ends up with San Fran as their starting second baseman?
Yeah, I think Semien or West Coast. I think Semien would be good for the Mariners and for the Giants.
I want Todd Frazier on the Mariners.
The Todd father still playing would be great.
Yeah, I would want to see him on the Mariners. He should start. He should be playing every day.
Yeah.
And then at first, what about Travis Shaw?
I mean, Shaw, I would hope maybe he comes back because I liked him in Boston, but he definitely could go somewhere where he could play every day. I'm not sure if he would play being every day in Boston anymore. He didn't really play every day when he was here during the postseason time. So if he goes somewhere else, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Also, when it comes to the Hall of Fame, the ballot is out. That's something to talk about here. Do you think that A-Rod and Big Papi will make it to Cooperstown on the first ballot? And do you think that this is finally the year that we see Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds go to Cooperstown?
I mean, if they put in steroid users, in it, they should put almost every single type of steroid user in it. That is, proven. I mean, as a Papi fan myself, love Papi, but you've seen reports out there that he might have been taking steroids in a lot of his years. I know A-Rod is definitely a steroid user. I can definitely hear, Clemens could be definitely speculated about some type of, but a lot of these guys and substance wise can definitely be, in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, a lot of the names that you listed, Laura, and I could kind of do more of my ballot before next week. But yes, a lot of those names that you listed should be in it.
Here's my ballot. I'm gonna put a mark on each one who I think should be in. Like, what about one of your former favorite Red Sox, Manny Ramirez?
Mm-hmm.
Would you want him in there?
I would love Manny in there. Yeah.
I love Manny. He is a character. He was a class hitter, really good power.
Yep.
And if he retires, you think he retires as a Red Sox?
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah.
No, because he was on my Dodgers, and I loved him in LA. I'll tell you that. The Manny would, and all the fans really loved him here. They embraced Manny Ramirez here in LA, and I just think that having Manny Ramirez, even though Manny was suspended for 50 games that season because of using steroids.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was a great, amazing player for us for a long time. 04 was a big season. 04 was a big reason why, and just loved him.
What about, would you vote for Jonathan Papelbon? When I'm looking at the ballot right now
I love Pap, but I don't think he'll make it. No, I don't think he'll make it.
What about I'm looking at other names. What about Jimmy Rollins? I love J-Roll.
Yeah, I think he could be he should have some votes. I'm not sure if he'll be in, but he should definitely be considered.
He should be considered, but Andrew Jones is on there. And what are your thoughts on Andrew Jones' chances getting into Cooperstown?
Pretty good. He was a great hitter.
And Carl Crawford, you used to face him twice. He was on my Dodgers. And I think he could.
Yeah, I'm not banking on it.
You're not banking on Carl Crawford?
No.
I want to see Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds be in there. I grew up watching them play when I was a kid, and they are really good players. But how I feel about them using steroids, I'm like, are they using it to their advantage?
Yeah. I don't think that Barry Bonds shouldn't be in it. Steroids aside, David Ortiz should be in it. Steroids aside, but yeah.
What about not Roger Clemens?
Clemens could possibly.
What about Kurt Schilling?
Yes.
I mean, Kurt Schilling, he's had a bad reputation in the media these past years because of politics and all that, but I really think he should be in there. He was a phenomenal pitcher. He was an ace.
Yeah. No, he should be in there. Yeah.
Like, he was an ace pitcher for the Phillies, Diamondbacks. He was part of their World Series team with the Diamondbacks. And then he was part of your Red Sox for many, many years.
Yeah, for sure.
So, talk about some other teams that could. Who do you think early-wise in this off-season edition of Hop Stove? Who do you think the worst team in the National League will be? Is it the Diamondbacks or the Pirates or the Marlins? I pick Arizona, even though they're in my division. they're going to still suck, even though they added Brett
Yeah.
Strom as their pitching coach. I still think they don't have a good enough roster to be really good. I think they've been stupid. I think after that one good season in 2017, when they made the playoffs under Torey Lovullo's tenure, I just think the Diamondbacks, to me, they're a mess.
Yeah, they need a big roster overhaul. They should move him from Ketel Marte. He definitely deserves better. Ever really since that they moved on from Goldschmidt, I mean, they really never been even the same. Even when Goldschmidt was there, they didn't really have a lot of big time years contending even for a division. So
They didn't. I remember them having him and
he's just
AJ Pollock on there.
Yeah, he's all done.
You mean Goldie?
Well, I'm not saying Goldie's all done. I'm just talking about just potentially Lovullo could be all done in terms of his job there. I would not
It's
be
not
opposed
really
to it.
his fault, though. The front office is a mess. Like, Mike Hazen, it's not really his fault. It's more the owner that's giving Diamondbacks fans a chance why they're so bad.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the Rockies being better than expected this past season. And then what do you think? And then what do you think about? And then what about the Orioles? You think they're the worst team in the American League heading into next year?
Yes, I still think Orioles have a lot of work to do. I saw a report the other day that they maybe even move on from John Means, arguably their best pitcher. So I mean,
why would you think they would move on from him? He should be part of their rebuild. You never know.
He should, but I think that there could be some listeners on for John Means, and if that's the case, man, I mean, they're definitely just asking just for sell and starting off because I mean,
I think who's off limits on the Orioles is Cedric Mullins. I think he's off limits, and Trey Mancini's off limits.
And Ryan Mountcastle should be too. I think Ryan Mountcastle's a very good player. He definitely for sure should be in the mix of untradables for them.
Are you saying that Mountcastle shouldn't be traded?
Nah, I wouldn't move him around.
No, I wouldn't move around Mancini, Mountcastle, and Cedric Mullins. I would stay away from those guys when it comes to the Orioles doing a fire sale at the trade deadline. They're loading up their farm system, but they still have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And then the Pirates. I think they're still bad. I mean, keep Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds are good, but what if the Yankees trade for Brian Reynolds?
That'd be a great move for them. They've always struggled with finding straight contact hitters with good average. And Reynolds would be a great piece for them. He's an underrated player that doesn't get a lot of love because he's from a really bad program in Pittsburgh, but he's a great hitter. And he makes their team at least relevant in terms of knowing what their team is.
What about Aaron Hicks? Will he stay a Yankee?
Yeah.
Will the Yankees still start him every day in center field?
I don't know if they'll start him every day, but I think if he's going to be on their team, that he should start every day.
Are you talking about Hicks?
Yeah.
Yeah, if the Yankees don't get Corey Seager, you think that they get a stopgap shortstop in Freddie Galvis?
Freddie Galvis, they had some talks about Andrelton Simmons, but he's just – I mean, if you're the Yankees and you get him, I mean, I think they'd be pretty disappointed because I think they're really active in the top shortstops. I mean, I'm not saying Simmons is a bad player. He's a great defender. But as a hitter and stuff, he's really – I'm not even close. I mean, you take away kind of the Correa or the Seager types, even story. But Simmons for sure would be a huge downgrade to their team. Offensively, per se, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely one of the keys there. So, anyway, some final thoughts is that happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And also, one of my final thoughts is that, Ben, we are optimistic that we're going to get a new labor deal done by December 1st. I think that moving that the tender deadline to November 30th, I think it gives the players union and the league more time to get something done.
Yeah, staying optimistic, staying hopeful, especially in this time of year where you got to do what you can to stay optimistic for a lot of things, stay hopeful, stay positive. And I think that's what we kind of have to look at in this case too.
Yeah, I think so too. And then also, The Yankees could be getting Marcus Semien, but I think Marcus Semien is going to be playing in the West Coast.
Yeah, I would not want Marcus Semien on the Yankees because I don't want to face him every single. I don't want to face him more. That's for sure. That would not be fun at all. So.
Yeah, so anyways, we got a tweet here from Bernie Pluskoff. He said, my concern, MLB players and owners have known that the CBA deadline's coming. Who's to say an agreement can be reached after a lockout begins? Wouldn't be the same agreement available now? I hope it's settled by December 1st. What posture will be changing after this date? Who will blank? I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the new CBA, and I think that it's going to be agreed upon by December 1st.
Oh, man. Like I said,
because next Wednesday is going to be a big show for us.
Big show. Yeah.
And also, before we go, we want to say congratulations to Wade Davis. He is retiring at the end of the season.
Yeah, I read about that before joining tonight. Wade Davis, great closer there in Kansas City, and definitely wish him best for what's up next for him. But a great career, and yeah.
Do you think that we'll see more movement next week?
I do, yeah. I think that they're going to get through a lot of the rest of the pitching market. They Stefani and Wood both been back to the Giants this week, and Gossman and Stroman should be next. And then you really kind of see, okay, what's going to happen to a guy like Scherzer, the big fishes in the pitching market. Maybe Carlos Rodon. I would expect a lot of this weekend, Loro. Keep your phone steady, ready to go for baseball this weekend, because I think a lot of deals are going to try to happen right before the CBA for next week. If you don't see a lot of movement, that means that the CBA stuff is not progressing in the way of our liking. Because
we're seeing a lot of movement now, and
yeah,
I think
which
that
positive.
We're heading in the right direction. That we're not going to see a lockout.
Yeah, that's our hope for sure. So,
anyways, I'll see you later tonight for football.
All right, man. We'll looking forward to later, and we'll talk some football and have a good one. All right.
Yeah, well, Ben and I will be back at midnight Eastern time to talk about Patriots and Falcons, and then we'll also preview their matchup against the Tennessee Titans in Week 12 and go from there.
Sounds good, man. Take care.